Hello everyone, this is Venom, and today we're talking about PvP and Prismatic. That's right. I'm going to be talking about some exotic effects you can take advantage of in Prismatic for PvP. Some will like this, some will not. Now, there's been some discourse about PvP for Destiny 2, in general, but for Prismatic, people are definitely excited for PvE, but they're freaking out over PvP. I think it's going to be broken. I do and don't agree. I think the actual Prismatic subclass will be fine. I don't think that's going to break it too much. Like, yeah, there are some abilities that are on there that are going to be a little crazy as far as mix and matching goes. For the most part, it's not like we got every best-in-class ability. Like, for example, I'm sorry, Titans, you don't get your bonk hammer for Prismatic. That one actually hurt me, and I'm not even a Titan main. For Warlocks, you don't get the Will of Radiance. You got the Song of Flame, unfortunately. Again, I'm not a Warlock main, I'm a Hunter main, but that one hurt me too. We do not get the best in class for everything. In fact, we don't even get ones that sometimes make sense. Now, like, for example, I would not have chosen Lightning Surge for the Warlock. But, again, I'm not the one that made all these, and they did want to balance these out. I know so that the other mono classes weren't useless. So things like Will of Radiance were still needed, Ward of Dawn were still needed. The Invis Hunter, there's still going to be, I'm definitely going to be not getting rid of my Omnioculus build for that because I'm definitely still going to need it. I won't be able to use, I'm working on it, but I doubt I'll be able to use my Prismatic Hunter in Grandmasters like I can my pre-made or my already made Omnioculus Hunter. Now, the part of PvP I think is going to be a little nutty is going to be where the exotic effects come from. Now, those combinations are going to be a little insane, and the fact that other classes are going to have access to some of these effects, I think is also going to be crazy. Now, we don't have a confirmation on most of the effects we're going to be talking about today, but you got it for a couple, and I'm going to talk about those first. But I think some of these effects that we're going to see is going to be, these may be game-breaking for PvP. I think it's going to be the exotic class items are going to be the game-breaking part, not necessarily the abilities. And what do I mean by that? Well, first let me talk about something pretty common. That's going to be this 6 Coyote. Now, we saw on stream during the dev video that one of the devs talked about getting a exotic roll that gave him a second dodge charge. Now, we don't know if it's going to be a second dodge charge, and it's going to be specific that only hunters can get, or if that roll actually says a second class item charge. Let's pretend for a second it says second class item charge. Imagine being able to pop 2 barricades with Drenger's Lash. Imagine being able to put down, 2 rifts back to back with Warlocks. It's going to be a lot more ability spam. That by itself will give you more ability spam than the actual subclass itself will. Just the fact that you get that second class ability is already going to be pretty nutty. And that's one that, again, if it's not class specific, everyone will be able to use. But I want you to expand your mind a little bit further. Let's take something like Stompies. Imagine Titans and Warlocks getting their hands on Stompies. Pretty much a hunter staple for PvP. In fact, I had no idea about this, but I guess Stompies was apparently at one point like one of, if not the most used exotic. I think as a hunter main, or a PvP main as well, not just hunter main, but PvE main, I think I equipped Stompies like during the Whisper missions back in the day when it first came out, and that was it. That was the only time I used Stompies. Now, for PvPers, Stompies was apparently, the hardcore exotic to use. And I say this, I keep saying apparently, like I said, I'm not hiding it. I've not been a big PvP fan. I am not someone who does PvP. I am okay at it. I just don't enjoy it myself. I'm not knocking anybody who does enjoy it. You do you, I do me. We all do our own things. Now, I'm saying all that because I don't know that much about the PvP scene. I know some basics. I don't get into like trials and stuff. I've never gone flawless. That tells you how little PvP I play. But Stompies was very popular. Now, imagine the Titan and imagine the Warlock getting this. Now, technically speaking, Titans and Warlocks are already faster than the Hunter is, even though the Hunter is supposed to be the mobility class, but that's a whole other bag of worms. But imagine you guys getting the Stompies on your in your arsenal. Imagine something like getting a combination of Stompies and 6 Coyote. You now can move around like a hunter as far as your height, and then now you've got 2 class abilities you can use. That is the kind of stuff we're looking at for PvP here. Now, let me go ahead and look at a couple more things. We do have a couple that we do have some confirmation about. Now, again, the 6 Coyote was one. The Warlock, the Ophidian, let's pull it up real quick. The Ophidian aspect, it's one of the effects we saw pop up on screen. We're pretty much like 80 to 90% certain this is going to be one of the ones we get. This one says weapons ready and reload very quickly, and provides a small benefit to the airborne effectiveness stat of all weapons. This is a Warlock exotic. Imagine this being on a Hunter, which Stompy's on as well. Think about that combination. Now, we don't know how these exotics are going to roll. Some of these may not be able to roll together. But, I mean, these are just all the different things that we're going to have access cross-class. Let's not even talk about combination. Just imagine the cross-class about this. Imagine, like I said, Hunters getting the Ophidian aspect from the Warlock's class. Imagine the Warlock getting the Stompies and the 6 Coyote. Let's take a look at some of these things that Titans got, too, that they could potentially be passing over. Yeah, besides the fact that we've already talked about Heart of Inmost Slider in our last video, it's another one that we've seen pop up on screen already, so we're pretty sure we're going to be getting it. I want you to imagine a Hunter with Antaeus Wards on. We're looking at some really crazy combinations for PvP, and I think that's where I think the main issues are going to come, if there are any issues at all with PvP. I mean, hell, the Armamentarium giving us a second grenade charge. Having that on a Hunter or having that on a Warlock on a Warlock especially, a second grenade charge. There are very few exotics, period, that give Warlocks a second grenade charge, and they usually very specific grenades. This is just a blanket second grenade charge, period. That's going to be great for Warlock for Prismatic. Hell, imagine a damn Hunter with Stompies and Lion Rampart together, if that's something you can get. I mean, Lion Rampart by itself is going to be pretty damn good. Again, if it's one of the effects we get. But that's the point I want to make for PvP, is that the exotic effects for Prismatic are a lot more dangerous than the actual Prismatic subclass itself. We're already used to using all these abilities against each other anyway. Granted, yes, we'll be mixing and matching them. I guarantee you're not even going to notice that. You know, yeah, we're going to have some different combinations we can do for the most part, but those combinations are mainly going to be... They're mainly going to come to fruition because of the exotic effects we're going to get. You're already used to going against, someone using Cataclysmic. Now, in fact, you're probably going to get used to just the fact that people are using supers they wouldn't normally use for their subclass for PvP. Like, typically, I want to be using a Nova Bomb on a Void Warlock in PvP. I use Storm Trance, I use Winter's Wrath, Needle Storm, those are pretty much the ones you'd have to use. But typically, these are not, I wouldn't be using single shot supers, I'd be using just roaming supers. Now, I want you to consider something else too, and this is where Hunters are really going to be, this is where the playing field is going to be leveled a lot too, and it's going to be coming from the Hunters, and maybe we're going to have some more from the Titans and Warlocks, but the Hunters are where my bread and butter are, and this is one where I know we might be a little bit screwed if our effects get leaked, and that's what it looks like is happening. I mean, imagine some of the PvE effects the PvP effects that don't get used a lot. Imagine them being added on to already good PvP effects. Imagine the Knucklehead Radar being one of the effects that Titans and Warlocks can get. Imagine the Foe Tracer being one of the effects that Titans and Warlocks can get. The Wormhusk Crown had to be nerfed, it was so good back in the day. Imagine that going on to Warlocks and Titans. This is a level that we're getting to. We got stuff like Liar's Handshake could be a very, very good one to have on there. What else we got here? Oathkeeper, to a degree, Oathkeeper would be, pretty damn good. Now, probably not as good as some other exotics. I mean, I'm not really going to be using a bow as much, but then let's turn around and look at something like, we would use a lot, like sidearms. Like, look at Makeneer's Trick Sleeves. Boost sidearms, especially when you're, wounded. That's going to be a huge one. Lucky Pants, for example. We've got entire boss damaging builds about, with this one. Lucky Pants is going to be insane in the Crucible if it's another... Like, again, I'm not saying by itself because you can already do that with a Hunter, but imagine that combined with something else too, like one of the other effects you can use. These are going to be pretty crazy. I mean, the Frosties are going to be great. As much running around as you're doing, you're going to have some crazy ability spam up. I mean, imagine something like Frosties with a second grenade or Frosties with 6 Coyote. These are the effects that we're really looking at that are going to do something in PvP. It's not going to be the prismatic effects themselves, or the prismatic subclass itself. It's going to be the exotics. Now, there are a couple ways Bungie could probably handle this. We don't know what the full gamut of exotic effects are. So right now, all this is speculation, save for a couple. Like I said, we know about 6 Coyote. We know about things like Star Eaters. We talked about that in PvE already. We know some of these already. We know the Assassin's Cowl. We know some effects. We don't know all of them, but we got an idea what we're looking at. We got an idea what they've been choosing. Some of these PvP effects could be really crazy. And again, especially from the ones that are coming from the Hunter class. I mean, Hunters, again, it's all about mobility. There's a lot of sidearm stuff in there. There's a lot of hand cannon stuff in there. These are going to be some crazy PvP combinations, and that's where we got the problem. Now, Bungie could easily disable the exotics. They could make it to where you can't take Prismatic into the Crucible. I doubt they're going to do that. They're more likely, if they're going to do anything, they were more likely to disable the exotic combinations or the exotics for PvP. They could even disable certain exotic effects in PvP. Now, I don't think they're going to do that, but that would be how I think they would handle this if they do it at all. So it's not the prismatic subclass you guys got to worry about specifically. Yeah, there's going to be a bit more ability spam. Yeah, I'm not overly worried about that part too much, but the PvP combinations, or the PvP exotic combinations, that's where I think we're going to really have we're gonna have some insanity at. And again, there are two groups of people I've seen with this. There are those that are they're out and out saying this is gonna destroy PvP. PvP's gone forever. It's gonna be totally unbalanced. And again, I can understand that. But everyone who said that I've seen so far has taught not about the exotics. They've taught about the actual subclass itself. So I don't disagree with them, but direct that towards the exotic combinations. And then the other half were just like, I mean, this is going to be fun as hell. And I'm probably in the camp that this is going to be fun as hell. I may even actually do a bit more PvP depending on the exotic roll I get. So we'll see how that one ends up rolling out. But that's going to do it for today. I just wanted to go over some of the PvP exotic effects we may be getting. I'm going to start doing some combination effects here soon. I got a lot of combinations I want to talk about. Some are definitely a bit more speculative than others, so I'm a bit wary on doing that. I may end up not doing them at all, just because I really don't want to put those videos out and then we turn out we get nothing. Or I can put them out and say, hey, let's see how many of these combinations actually end up being a thing. So I'll see if I can find any more leaks and go off of that. But past that, that's all we've got for today, guys. Again, this has been the PvP effects, and really, not even necessarily all the effects of PvP. This is just really an idea of what you may be facing in PvP. So that's a speculation. This is stuff you could be facing. So, yeah, that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you for coming by. Please like the video if you like what we're doing. Please subscribe if you love what we're doing here. And I will see you guys on the next video.